Make sure the sound is working. So,
Keep talking.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so you-
No, they're fine.
How was everyone's Thanksgiving?
Shit.
Why?
That's good.
Did you stay? Or did you go Pittsburgh?
Oh, no, we were here. I was in the hospital.
Oh, gosh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
so. Should be 95 and.
Oh, wow.
So,
Mom's
the
in
alternative-
95 and 3.
Yeah. Just wrong with it. Just wrong with it.
What you got into?
Great.
Keep taking it.
How was the Pittsburgh?
That feels great.
It's definitely working.
I mean, it's not,
You could call Matt.
nothing's fantastic, but this is the gold standard, and then I'm really concerned for all the rest. Because my sister and I advocate a lot. Yeah, like, good morning.
Good morning, Matt.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Everybody ready to rock?
We're ready, yep.
Good morning. Today's December 13th, 8:30 a.m. I'd like to call to order the Troy Community Land Bank Executive Committee meeting. We did a order check, correct? We're good?
Yeah, I checked online, yep.
We'll do a roll call. Brian Barker. Here. Suzanne Spellin.
Here.
Monica Kuzieski.
Here.
James Mager here. We also have Executive Director Brad Lewis, Project Manager Paul Donnelly, and our council Matt Shelton. Brian, we are waiting on minutes, correct?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna deliver next week.
Okay.
I got a whole load.
So we will move on to the RFP for 785, the debris removal for 785 River Street.
Do you mind if I take over 1 second and move the old business thing line item down there to the top? Because Matt's got a 9 o'clock from 9 to 9:10 and you have a 9:15, so. So last month I got the ARPA contract. I sent the ARPA information to both Matt and John Sid. Monica and Jamie know John Sid, Brian and Suzanne. John Sid is a Land Bank Association lawyer. He's the one who's made amendments to the law and put them forward. He's also manages the Syracuse Land Bank, and I've asked him to essentially help us navigate specific land bank law as well as deal with the legal RFP for you guys to have a resource in choosing whoever you choose as our representation. But so we have an ARPA contract and we also have land bank law that governs how we can spend money. And I just wanted to bring it to you guys' attention and also at the board meeting that unless our ARPA contract specifies the facade program, the land bank law doesn't allow for us to spend money on private people's properties of our general funds. And our ARPA contract, which I just got from Kate, a couple of days before her resignation, doesn't specify the facade program at all. And so we have paid TAP $4,200 to start the program. But when I asked them for the contract, they only have a one-sided contract that was signed by TAP. Albert actually didn't sign a contract that I don't have it in place. And I also don't recall seeing any like resolution saying we're going to move forward with this. So it's a very in limbo, that program, in terms of like, I think the structure. Matt, have I said everything correctly as you understand it?
Yes, everything to date is correct.
So the ARPA contract did not delineate out a facade grant program partnered with a local community partner.
Right.
It just was general dollars towards something.
Rehabilitation of our vacant properties.
Okay. So it was designated specifically to land bank owned properties.
I believe,
nothing
yeah.
to do that, which I always thought was a little weird because they had actually started working with TRIP on a program for facade and programs. So that the fact that we were using another whole program to do that was a little wonky to me.
I think
Being the person who kind of designated the money originally, like I just felt that, like, I don't understand why we were using yet another partner to do another facade program when we already had one that was doing it.
Mhm.
So because we cannot gift our, right?
Mhm.
That is part of the challenge, because then we would essentially be gifting general receipts that weren't allocated for a specific use. Is that correct?
Matt, that's right.
That's correct. You cannot use those funds in the manner in which the facade program would prescribe based on the way that ARPA contract is drafted.
Okay,
And so if we wanted to push for the facade program, this is my understanding, then we would have to get a modification to the ARPA contract. And I think we'd have to do it by the year end because all money,
yeah,
everything has to be allocated or contracted out. I assume you can't change the contracts if they've been contracted out, I guess. But we'd want something from, I think, City Hall in order to move forward with the program, because if we don't have something from City Hall saying, yes, this is what we want you to do, then we're essentially sort of steering money the way we want to.
so let me, so because they were used for, it did it delineate which projects?
It says,
Two. All buildings except for two are on ARPA.
right, all the buildings were on there, and it said, in general, upgrading vacant buildings, finishing 791 River Street was, very explicit in the contract. And it had most of our buildings listed there.
Okay, so, and we've done an audit of receipts or expenditures, and everything's in line, right?
Yep.
And is there any monies left in that?
Well, so depending on how we move forward, there's 130, and I want to say 7, but it might be 133,000, somewhere in that range of expenditures to allocate towards ARPA. Of that money, we could possibly do the $100,000 that was spent in January for the material settlement, building material settlement for 791 River Street, which would leave us with 37,000 or 35,000 or something like that to spend this year on vacant buildings.
So we essentially have 30, because the $100,000 is something towards 791 to finish that project. We had to get rid of that issue in order to continue on and finish and complete 791.
Right,
So the $37,000 is what we have remaining of funding to be able to spend.
right. That would be probably the cleanest way to say it, but
Okay.
that doesn't provide money for a facade program.
No, understood,
Right,
but
yeah.
if the facade program is not called out, I don't, unless they're gonna,
It's not,
I
I
think their
mean,
meeting is next
Yeah.
week, right?
Mhm.
So to be able to reallocate the funding by the end of this year, which is what's required, all the funding has to be allocated or reallocated by the end of 2025.
Mm.
And then spent before the end of end of 2024 and spent by the end of.
Right.
So, I mean,
I don't think per Monica's formula, we don't have time to even ask. Two, I don't think we should go and ask them to amend anything just to open it up.
well, and to be fair, I mean, they had to do a second round of advertising and marketing for the trip program because nobody was really doing anything with it.
Yeah.
So,
You would also need a board resolution to go down that path.
right.
You would have a resolution to go request that the council amend that contract.
I just think we let it stand and do a full accounting of the ARPA, which Seamus has been asking for.
Mhm.
Or the
Yeah,
deputy
we
mayor.
said that to him, yep.
And then,
Hmm.
to be fair, we're probably one of the first organizations to actually complete in 100% their funding allocation.
Oh,
Right, I don't know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know what other places they're doing as far as where the status is.
mhm.
I think it's what the deputy mayor, I can't remember, what the deputy mayor was trying to do was try to see where everybody was as
Mhm.
far as expenditures and funding.
How far along is TAP, the administrative program?
Yeah, obviously that's been weighing heavy on me. So they were given the money for the work they started. Then they designed the program, then they got applications. They went around and did site visits to all the people. And they were gonna work in the spring getting quotes for the work. So they haven't got to the point where they're getting quotes for them.
Do we have a ballpark of what the work is worth?
They were expecting to allocate up to $18,000 per place, plus they had two larger properties. They wanted to do a larger amount of money to 20,000 each. So I think they were expecting to be 180. And when I told her, we don't have 180 left in our, we only have like 137,000, 35,000.
Yeah.
That we have available.
So I wonder if there's a way to actually see if we can marry up TAP and TRIP. Because TRIP was, remember they're doing that neighborhood program.
Yeah,
Mhm.
or I'm
Right.
wondering if we get another round of funding, can we just have our own thought? Forget about it.
We can't use
From-
funds for that.
So we would have to actually request that. We would, as part of the LBI funding or whatever we're applying
Yeah.
for, we'd actually have to say a neighborhood, and it would be something specific around our properties, right?
Mhm.
Like a neighborhood improvement program, and you would have to delineate that, and it would have to be awarded as that in order for us to spend it.
And that's what Teresa, I think this may start with Teresa, is that's what she asked LBI phase 2 for, the money that we're talking about, Paul's RFPs. That round of funding was in the application and it was denied. And so then
For
she
the
moved
facade program?
for the facade program. And then they moved forward to it. Actually, I think if my gut serves me right, and this is just intuition, this isn't fact, but I believe she did that. In doing that, she asked TAP for sort of a proposal that she could provide in the, I assume you guys would know better, but she might have asked TAP for that proposal, and then TAP, in conjunction with getting the proposal out there, might have sent the invoice or sent the contract again. And without any leadership, like executing anything in the office, our treasurer at the time was signing checks and writing, to the invoices that came to keep the land bank going. They might have just sent a check, and then when I came in, I'm like, oh, we've already funded this. We must be moving forward with it, and not having like meeting minutes on the website or anything to go back on. And also, to be quite frank, this facade program was brought up the day before our board meeting where you guys voted to hire me. It was at the Troy 100 forum. Barb was talking about it in a matter of fact. And I'm like, oh, okay, so we're definitely doing this program. And I had been requested to put a proposal out in March of 2024. And I declined because I told them I was interested in taking this job. But so I've heard about it since at least March and May, but I hadn't had the ARPA contract to read. So that's at least my reverse engineering what I think.
We don't know why it was refused in the funding, the LBI.
I don't know. But what they approved was almost like everything except that.
Because they're private.
Yeah, wouldn't it go back to what Sid's brought up, that we are not allowed to use monies for private property?
But it can't be if you write a grant and the grant specifies this, because we're using that money, not our general fund. Like when we sell a building, we're gonna bring in money. We can't take that money and then gift it to a private residence.
My reading into that is if they put that into the land bank law, that was to not prevent, but to deter people from putting in an application to invest in private property.
Hmm.
You already put it out there, like this is a good chance this is gonna get denied.
Yeah, I mean, we're a public authority, so it's the public's money.
Yeah.
And so, right around the city right now, everybody's talking about the lead lines and is it constitutional in New York state law to finance lead lines with public money? And obviously that's a big thing. And doing the facade is definitely part of that question, I think. And I think that's why the land bank law probably says what it does.
So there's the piece about gifting, right? So even like where I work, we have to, something has to be given back in return, right? Like there has to be a reciprocal, like something in exchange. So like if I sponsor an event, like if I cover the cost of an event for somebody, then I have to be listed as a sponsor. So I sponsor events and stuff like that. So it's and you have to have a deliverable for the money. No quid pro quo.
No quid pro quo.
Opposite.
No quid pro quo.
Right, so like there has
Thank
to be a deliverable for when you expend the money.
Yeah.
So, and it's a very similar concept here. I mean, if it was a program that was in place that we became an agent for, that's a different story,
Mhm.
right? So if we somehow were able to get awarded funding that says, yes, this funding is specific to this neighborhood improvement program, and the land bank is gonna be the operator or the administrator of this fund, we could take 15% for operating costs, blah, 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 then that's a whole different story.
Mhm.
But that's an actual program out of the land bank funded with money specific to that program.
Right.
I think since this thing already has somewhat of legs, I'll piggyback what Monica said. I think maybe we bring Trip and Tap together.
And
To
they
see if
don't
we
have
can,
the, and they don't have the regulations we do, because they're just a regular, not a regular, but they're just a profit, right? Like where we have.
Right.
To add back to.
if we got it to whatever phase it's at, right?
Mhm.
But unfortunately, it got lost in the weeds somewhere, so we might as well see if we can save it.
Mhm.
Do we know what Trip has on their plate now? as
I'm not
far as
sure.
that program?
Potentially go upstairs after this meeting and see if Noah's
Was
available.
that the soccer with the city? Same thing?
It was through ARPA,
Yeah.
it was ARPA, and it was they did a,
No, I'm talking about the facade program years ago.
look through the LDC. I mean, they could certainly work through the LDC.
Right.
I mean, the LDC has literally has everything in place to be able to do what Danae knows inside and out.
But then they'd have to have funding for it.
LDC's financial position is right now.
Right, because they're trying to spend their ARPA funds as well.
Through the LDC.
Yeah, Trip.
No, and I like for them to do like a whole nother public round of announcements. So like the original trip program was designed after, it was when who used to work for Unity House came here after Patrick left, Christine. They put it together, and it was a really good program. You had to have a multiple group of houses in a geographic area, and everybody had to do
Mhm.
certain things.
Sounds like what Deputy Mayor saw.
Yeah.
Trip.
Yeah, so it's a really good program. I just think that they just haven't had the reach that they
Mhm.
thought they would do. And
Mhm.
when we originally designed it, we did a secondary, like a piggyback onto that geographic location in Lansingburg. It was like one of those tipping point areas. We
Mhm.
wanted to hold it together so it didn't tip over.
Mhm.
But then we also wanted to do something that was citywide,
Mhm.
so that, it wasn't just isolated to one geographic location.
Well, to move this along, I'll reach out to Noah at Trip. I guess I could reach out to Deputy Mayor as well to see if the LDC wants to get involved. I can explain where we're at
Okay.
in the process. And I can always just go over and talk to Barb.
Yeah. Okay.
And walk across the street, talk to Barb.
Well, I think the other piece too is that it's just about the fact that the ARPA funding
Isn't,
literally does not indicate that there's any ability. There's no program in place, therefore we can't expend the money.
I
Right.
think that's an easy explanation to Barb and Tap, right? We
Yeah.
just can't do it, right? It's
Well,
just-
and part of that, she's clued in on that because our council before, she brought up the idea that maybe we're not allowed to put a handicap ramp in. And so I had asked Barb that in an email, if she has any indication that somebody had earmarked it, where did she get the information that we were gonna move forward with the handicap ramp for a church? And is it allowed, anything? So, she had said to me one time that, if we lose the funding, we lose the funding. I don't think she would be surprised.
Okay. Well, I can loop all three of those.
Well, and I think it's also a matter of it's not losing the funding, it's the funding
Right.
was never there.
Right.
That's what
We
we
need
need
to,
to
we need
explain
to
to
make
them.
sure that that is finessed,
Mhm.
because that doesn't put us in a
Yeah.
weird, awkward
Yeah.
position.
Mhm. All right.
Do you want to talk about website while we're on old business?
I just told him January 1st, we're gonna go live. It's that simple,
Okay.
because all his RFPs will be white for Wednesday. He's got the meeting minutes uploaded. He's
Yep.
been doing that. We're just gonna go live January. Bite the bullet on anything we're missing, we're gonna get it fixed.
Okay.
I gave them, the photographs that we took.
Yeah.
That when we went around,
Mhm.
so they got something.
Oh, good.
I have a ton of photos too.
Yeah.
You wanna talk about, you wanna talk about 785 River Street debris?
Yeah, sure. We all know that the basement is a debris removal project. We received 3 bids. 2 of the 3 bids have all of their documents in order. One does not, which we have to DQ because it is just literally a spreadsheet. 2 bidders, one was Silvercrest Capital, who we awarded the 3 roof projects to previously. And the second is Clea General Contracting. They are the lowest bid.
So clear.
KLEA. And if you
I
like
see
to
theirs.
review the bids,
Those are the guys next
Oh,
door.
that's
those
good.
are the guys next door. So
Yeah, so,
you all have more knowledge about the guy next door than I do. So
yeah, I can please take over,
I'll speak to him as well, yeah.
yeah, if you guys recall, he was the one that had moved a bunch of debris into the backyard at 785 River Street and put up a fence to block it off. And then when I asked him to remove that debris, he said, yeah, when my backhoe's working, I'll get to it.
This guy?
Yeah,
So he's the one that put the debris
Yeah.
there in the first place?
no, not the debris in the basement.
The debris in the backyard. He put about a foot of topsoil, or not topsoil, contaminated soil, I should say. I'm not sure what's in it, but he put about a
Potentially.
foot tall, the whole backyard. He just pushed it off his property and into our backyard and then put a brand new
And
6.
then do we have to pay to clean it up?
We've gotten a quote for $4,000. We haven't moved forward, but we could use the ARPA money to, clean it up.
So Matt, can we DQ him because he like
Yeah.
littered and did that to ours?
Well, you have the discretion to, it's not just a low bidder. You would choose the most qualified bidder.
Okay.
Yes.
So in this circumstance, you don't feel that this is a responsible individual, then in your discretion, you would not choose him as
they
the
were in the
contractor.
spreadsheet for 2 bids.
Yeah. So also just to piggyback on it, the potential of
Incomplete.
Cleo was the potential contractor partnered with Sumit Gupta for the legacy program as well. And that they didn't fulfill their end of the bargain on that as well.
Yes,
Yeah. He was one of the 2 people that we
It's
awarded.
disqualified, but- and his price was $48,000. So it really didn't matter either way.
I like, so,
We're just gonna make a recommendation to
Yeah.
the board.
we're just, Silver,
Review it.
Silver
Crest cap.
Crescent. We already have so far, we have a good working relationship with them. We're happy with the work.
Yeah,
they've
we just
performed.
need to pay.
Cleaned up their mess.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with them. I'm happy with.
They're not far off. They're a couple $1,000s off from the lowest bid,
Mhm.
which
Yeah, it's about
Cook
2 grand.
Fleet was what, $5,000? You know,
I think it was 5,500 versus 7,900. Those were the 2 bids.
Yep. So I assume that
The recommendation is yes.
still the Crest capital. Should we be making motions and seconds? No, okay.
I don't think so. I think, so why don't you do this? Why don't you go through and just run down all of your,
That's what I'm gonna do.
yeah, and then we can just have a general conversation.
Okay.
And then maybe at the end, we can just say, we as a group,
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
put these forward to the thing.
Okay, cool.
3229 is your next one on the agenda.
3229 Sixth Avenue.
When, yeah, just to keep it, yeah, I'll
Keep
do
it
all
all
your
tidy.
secretarial work.
Thank you, thank you.
This is your,
It's been a long time since I had a secretary.
your secretary.
So 3229, this is for the rear deck. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, we received 3 bidders. The 3 bidders were Sam Greco Construction, $35,625. Silvercrest Capital, $19,000. And M.A. Schaefer Construction at $16,560, who is the lowest bidder at this point in time. I am unfamiliar with M.A. Schaefer Construction, so I did a little bit of background check. I didn't find anything negative about this company whatsoever.
Is it
So,
a Troy address?
no, they're out of Baltimore.
So it's not Sean Schaefer.
I don't think so. Give me 1 second.
But they're also the lowest bidder on 3230, right? Not to complicate it, but I just think that maybe they're, might be good at decks comparatively,
Maybe,
yeah.
maybe. They're builders. They're builders by trade. Well, they had
Good winter work,
the secretary sign this.
season work.
Yeah, fill in, keep you guys working, that's obviously it. So again, just a quick review. Sam Greco, 35,625, Silvercrest Capital, 19,000, MA Shaver Construction, 16,560.
Okay.
All right, 3230, I believe next.
Yep.
And this is also for a rear deck. Once again, we had three bids. Same three bidders, MA Shaper Construction, 25,500. San Greco Construction, 43,125. Silvercrest Capital, $36,557. Again, the lowest bidder here is MA Shaper Construction.
Is that a, general ballpark figure? It seems something hybrid, yeah.
Well, that one has to be demoed 2 stories.
Yeah.
So it's really a first and second story
It's-
deck and an intermittent landing from the second
And that's
story
to get the access on.
to get the X's off that
Yes.
building.
Yes.
Because currently there's no corner post supporting the southeast
There's
corner.
nothing
What do you need one of those for?
Well,
There was a tree holding up half of it. so-
That was we were
Until
joking that Trey's didn't
Oh,
cut the
I
tree.
yeah.
Okay.
32 grand, right?
All right, 32 Glen is a substantial project. We had 2 bidders for this. This is for the replacement of the east foundation wall. We had 2 bidders, Baker Contracting at $38,500 and Connolly Construction at $38,000. These guys are only $500 away.
Well,
So very tight here.
Where's Baker from?
Baker, I don't,
They're the ones who do a lot of the cemetery work. I think.
and Connolly Construction is the one that put in the sidewalks for us.
Green Isle?
Yes.
Amsterdam, Baker's out of Amsterdam.
So which one was lowest bidder?
Lowest bidder is Connolly Construction.
Okay.
And they're right here in Green Island.
And what are the numbers again?
38,500 for Baker, 38,000 even for Connolly.
Well, you know that the bid was good.
Yeah.
Like legit.
And, you know, the PEG budget for that, I believe, was $40,000. So, you know.
I would have done it for 35, but I can't. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, where are we? 3209 7th Avenue. This is for floor joists, replacements, and subflooring. We had 4 bidders here. The first was Sam Greco Construction at $20,000 even. The second was Baker Contracting at $5,700, big difference. The third was Pelco Remodeling and Construction at $15,200. And the fourth was Silvercrest Capital at $30,395, making the lowest bidder Baker Contracting at $5,700.
And we're sure that bid, he's got everything in that bid.
He does. And I think it's an outrageously low bid, just based on what we've received.
What was second lowest? 16?
No, 15.2. 15.2.
Does he delineate materials and labor cost?
But he also
Not
did
in his
he did
bid.
the foundation perfect. You know, he's off by 500 on the foundation, same contractor.
Same
So-
contractor is off by 500 on the foundation.
Now, I have to say this about that particular project. The
Yeah.
way it was spec'd out, it's not really as much sistering as it is complete replacement of it. And the hardest part about it, I was telling Paul this,
Yes.
is that our engineering firm made it so you have to remove a bunch of bricks around the joist to get
Right.
the
To get
joist,
the
the
joist in.
whole joist in there. And then you have to remortar it back in.
Right.
And I assume because Baker was interested in the concrete work, he's probably a mason, which bricking it back in is no big deal to him.
To a mason.
Potentially, I don't know him at all,
Right.
but
Right.
I assume, giving the benefit of the doubt, that he's interested in that part of it. And
But if that's also what he does, he's not subbing, he's not subbing it out and then a subcontractor actually bidding a higher price on it. Okay.
we should call him and double check
Yeah.
That's,
Before you award it, just double check.
Okay.
that he understands he has to pop, it isn't a ton of joists. It's like 9 joists per building, to get them through. But it's whether or not the materials are probably like $900.
But there's also subflooring.
Yeah.
what did you,
So the subflooring, in my construction background, I don't know how you can do that for 50.
what did you
I
budget to
don't.
do?
The budget was $15,000.
For each building, each of the two.
Right, well, we
This
can't do
3209 is It was all we're discussing.
Oh, okay.
So you had one bidder close to your budget.
Pelco remodeling and construction, 15,200.
You gotta call Baker and see how we.
All right, I'll flush that out there.
Now to mention 32117 Seventh Avenue, we're not going over that right here because
Correct.
it's not closed.
The bid is not technically closed until 8 AM on Monday. However, I would ask the committee, if it is okay with the committee, that we present 3211 to the full board.
Sure.
Once those proposals are received. And again, they only have till 8 AM Monday.
And what was it? Because it was like, we were
I think-
uploading
I
at
think-
4:59
I
and
think I
5:02.
uploaded 1 minute after 5 o'clock and automatically the New York State contract reporter kicks it to the next date. In this case, it was a weekend. So instead of it being due today, 8 AM on the 13th, it kicked it to Monday on the 16th.
And that same scope of work.
Same.
Same exact.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sounds good.
All right, so that's all of the
That's-
proposals.
All of the current RFPs that
We're not talking about 3211 because it's not closed yet.
No.
Brad, you got legal services.
Are we just,
So let's go back to
Yep.
the 3209.
Yep.
So provided that Baker comes back and says, yep, we got all the micro lambs, we got all the joists, we got all
Whatever
everything we
it is.
need, and we factored in all of this stuff, then I would move with that. If
Mm.
not, then I would go to the next lowest
Mm.
responsible bidder.
Obviously.
and I
We
think,
can't rebid.
right. And I don't think we're putting in microlambs. I think
No, it's not micro.
it's the exact same board. So
Yeah.
I think that you're going to probably have to do something like a lumber mill that does
Yeah,
rough cut.
you'd have to go to like a Delaney lumber
Yep.
and,
Yeah.
basically.
You can go to any lumber mill he wants.
120 years ago was 2.5 inches by
Yeah.
inches, not an inch and a half.
Correct, so.
Right.
I would just.
Replacement kind, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
and so he's gonna have to get a rough cut and full size, and he has to take the brick out and pocket it. He's not just good. Cause when I first saw it, I said, you know what, this is, for me, simple. You could just slap one on like 2/3 of the way of the thing. You just tuck it into the brick and put it in there and just lag it. But the engineer felt it was better if he was going a complete replacement of it, which I think is extra, but at the same time, the engineer has a stamp and I don't, so.
He could just be buying winter.
It's possible.
Essentially, yeah.
Could.
It's possible.
That's a
And
lot.
that's.
And
That's fine.
and contractors do that, you know?
That's totally fine.
Just keep your guys working over the winter, you know, so you don't have to lay them off.
Yep.
I mean,
I
that's
just don't
standard
want
practice.
his neighbors when I'm coming back and saying it was 10.
Well, and that's
Or
the thing is that,
leaving us with 5 grand.
or change order.
Right.
Because
Right,
that's-
right.
It's- yeah, it's not fair.
Too, and I don't know.
Right.
I don't know Baker, but I would just verify that he's got, because the bids were so distinctly.
I'm gonna drop off. I don't want to be a party to the legal services discussion.
All right, sounds good.
I'm gonna do this conference with the judge. If you want me back on, I'm happy to do that. I'll call you back as soon as I finish with them.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Everybody have a great day.
You too.
Okay, you got 12 minutes.
I got legal services, right? Well, actually, are we done talking
Okay.
about, we're
Yeah.
just gonna recommend all these RFPs to the board for a final.
Yeah.
Those are the ones above, yeah. Obviously, I had 32296 out.
I was gonna say, that's.
Yeah. There's only one back deck.
Gotcha. Legal services.
Yeah, so that's due today at 5 PM. And so, and the similar auditing and insurance is due on Monday, and that, this has to do with New York State Contract Reporter. We uploaded onto there to get a more competitive bid, which caused us to actually be delayed for our executive committee, which
Okay.
it's not as fun. But I can say this, and I guess I'll go through all, well, the legal services to start with, obviously, John Sid is available to the board and the committee to go over them. We have gotten RFPs for all of these, auditing, insurance, and legal. And so I think it's going to be a fruitful event for our RFPs. We just need to know who we're gonna invite to do what, you know, at the board meeting, or what the timeline would be. Or how we're gonna move forward, or recommend to the board to move forward with parsing out the RFPs.
So the
For-
RFPs are due today. Let's break it out to the legal services. The legal services are due today. We have a board meeting next Monday. right?
Mm-hmm. And also, the other parts are due on Monday as well. So Monday, did we put 8 a.m.?
I'm looking it up right now. I'm on
Okay,
the
cool.
contract review.
The auditing and insurance, I'm a little less concerned about.
For,
because they're
for
pretty
legal,
standard.
Brett,
No, auditing or insurance, but
audit services is 12/16 is Monday.
yeah.
Brokerage services is Monday. Legal services is
What
today.
time on Monday?
Give me a sec.
But that's okay. You just,
Did we do a committee at the last meeting? A review committee?
No.
Did we say that we were doing something?
Do at 8 a.m.
Yes.
Cause. What did we decide? Didn't we talk? We talked.
We
about this.
talked about a committee because we were going to try and decide who we were gonna go with at this coming meeting. We pushed that off to January. To give us time.
So between now and
Insurance
January,
is
we need to
12, yeah.
establish a group to review the.
Correct.
Okay. So then I would just call for that at the board meeting.
okay.
Just, and, shouldn't be a committee of the whole. It could be an actual committee. So like whoever's on the finance committee
Mhm.
could probably sort through the auditing, you know what I mean?
Or the auditing committee.
Or,
I don't know if
well,
that's
no,
better.
it should be the auditing committee does the
Okay.
audit RFP.
Okay.
You probably do, the governance committee could maybe do legal, maybe, or even maybe just the executive board does the legal services. It just depends. And then insurance can be whoever.
Right, because the insurance is less time sensitive. Auditing, we'd want to have a decision early enough so we can almost immediately after the board meeting, start the process
Right.
next January.
Could we do legal and insurance and executive, just take that on and then let audit committee handle audit?
And so at the next board meeting,
No.
December board meeting, the audit committee should schedule a time to
Yes.
meet
Sure, yeah.
for auditing.
Yeah.
And the legal and the insurance will be executive committee.
Which we did not set a date yet for the January meeting.
So do we need a resolution in order to set,
You,
resolution to, because they're not actually acting, they're just making a recommendation.
Just
They're gonna
make
present.
recommendations to the board.
So that's only a recommendation. Do we need a motion or anything like that, or we're good to go? Okay. So we're gonna recommend to the board that those committees meet
Review.
to review RFPs and decide if they want to entertain people to discuss
yeah,
at the January.
yeah, they could invite people to present if they need to.
Mhm. Okay,
I believe that's what the legal services we asked for a presentation. I don't remember if we discussed that for audit.
They don't really
I
need
think
it
we
for
need
audit.
That's gonna be pretty,
That's, the auditors
it's
know.
gonna be
what
less competitive, correct?
I don't know if it's less competitive. It'll be pretty traditional. If that's the right word.
So January, that they'd make a recommendation. And or
yeah, the committee will
Presentation.
probably vote on it in January. Or if we don't vote on it, at least there might be somebody to show up if that particular RFP has a response.
Mhm.
They want to sort of like see a presentation. That's where it could happen in January. And then immediately, like with real estate, we had presentations and we made a vote at that moment to accept the contract. So I think you can do January's meeting and actually execute a vote to decide who's going to move forward, who we're going to move forward.
Do you two expect January's meeting to have as many RFPs?
No, none.
Okay, so January's gonna be light.
I think it's a good
Okay.
idea.
So my suggestion would be, depending on the RFPs that we get back
Mhm.
for legal, right, legal and insurance. I think this committee could determine whether or not we seem it fit if we need presentations, right? Based on, if it's a clear cut who we're gonna go with.
Yeah.
Then we make that recommendation to vote on.
But I think you'll need time. What we're trying to create is this cadence of meetings, but if we're meeting Friday before, we're probably going to want to meet as the executive committee in earlier January.
Correct.
so that we can give time to the legal people to send somebody on that.
If we're gonna, yes, if we're gonna do a presentation, yes. We can't have it like last time. I mean, granted, things happen, but what happened with the real estate agent was unfortunate. So I agree. We give legal counsel time to prepare. rather than- So
Yeah.
early January for a committee meeting,
Yeah.
maybe just a week early.
Just to clarify with the real estate, we did a special committee meeting and verified that
Yes.
every RFP person could meet. The result was not because, we don't want special meetings, I know that. We prefer them to just be regular cadence so that anybody that would like to listen in can listen in and expect it from us. But the thing that we don't want is to have to call a special meeting. If we can give it enough notice to the people to come and present, then that'd be a lot better.
Let's find an early time in January.
Mhm.
This committee can meet to go over legal and insurance RFPs. And we'll recommend on next week that the audit committee does the same thing.
Okay.
Discuss the agenda
Yeah.
for next Wednesday.
So, yeah, I mean, the A&D committee, this is just me telling you guys what the A&D committee came up with. At 17 Park, we finished the roof, we're ready to have the firefighter come and take the red X off, but we gotta create a plan. It's like, we could have them do it to be eventful, that would be fun.
I think we do so.
Yeah, it would be nice to schedule a time and then also like videotape it or something to use it for social
Invite
media.
media.
But the A&D committee's recommended it go to list for sale. And they recommended that, we take pictures of the inside and that, we had a couple of board members come by with me and sort of get an idea of the pricing that we might suggest. So that's gonna go to the full board vote.
So are we listing it with the realtor?
No.
Why not?
We can. It's something that can be discussed, but that was not what came out of A&D. I don't think we also have an arrangement with her in terms of price for the lower end.
So if we wanted to list it, how do we list it without?
I thought
On the
I
website.
thought that was all inclusive of any of our properties. Just the committee one.
We'll have to have a listing agreement for every property that we list.
Because there was a percentage. I mean, wasn't that what the RFP was designed to do, was to?
The RFP allows us to use that vendor. So we use any vendor that responded. And then the board votes on listing with any property with that real estate agent or the ones that responded. We can't list it with the real estate agent that didn't respond. But it's not an exclusive agreement where every property is listed with the real estate agent. So if it was the board's prerogative, all the ones that we have listed now could go to the real estate agent to have listed for whatever price that she decides as well.
I mean, I guess that's how I would approach it.
I thought, there was a minimum.
Yeah.
If it was for a lot, like if she's not gonna come in and sell a $5,000 lot, it gets 3% of it. If it was a flat fee of $1.
Right. So we have buildings for sale on our website now that aren't listed with the real estate agent. And we have 791s listed with the real estate agent. Any building that we want to list with an agent can be listed with any of the agents that responded to RFP or what the board wants. So any of our buildings that the board wants to list, they can do that resolution and list with the agent, which is fine, but we have to draft a resolution to accept their listing agreement. There's a little bit of a back and forth, and it can go that process.
So I said when we discuss 17 Park next Wednesday, we allow the board to vote on.
Yeah.
Whether or not we list it or Leah and her team list it.
Sure, yeah.
So that should be fun.
And my concept, my thinking around this, the 17 Park is single family, right?
Two family.
It's 2 family,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also somewhere where we want to try to encourage homeownership,
Mm-hmm.
That's
right?
where Habitat's going to.
So I think I think you'll,
It's a full rehab though, inside, 2 new kitchens, you need to do 2 new kitchens and 2 new bathrooms.
2 new heating systems.
And so the type of person, I guess I'd say it to you like this, there are people that are looking at our website and watching us that are interested in buying properties from us already. And there's a lady who's called me a few times already on 17.
And me as well.
She's called you as well.
Yes.
And she might have called Suzanne, I don't know. She's really interested in it and people are watching that same thing. So I'm not saying it's better or worse, but when it
If
gets,
there's interest in it, then that's a
Right.
good story.
so we're getting applications off our website and it's so basic right now, our website, in terms of, it's just the line and the amount of money and people are applying to buy them. Or at least calling me and taking tours and that sort of thing. So
There's movement.
there is movement, it is working.
And if you didn't move a property over whatever time period.
We can also live with it. We have 4 properties on our website right now for sale besides 791. And 3 of the 4 have gotten applications. 1 hasn't, 33406 Ave. Although I showed it last week or the week before to a potential person that wants to renovate it, so. The applications weren't all complete on the ones on River Street, but we're getting towards that, or at least it's happening. Once there's pictures up and people can conceptualize what we're doing or see movement there, I think that it'll be better, but I guess the reason to sort of not use the agent in some cases might be to avoid the fees, but at the same time,
Right, or if something's moving on its own, then there's no really reason for it. Are you seeing,
well, this is that. Hello.
Hello, sorry about that.
are you seeing the same questions being missed on the application?
No, in fact, the last application missed the 5% deposit.
Okay, so it's not like something that people just aren't, like, it's not, there's nothing common.
My gut
Because
says,
it is a pretty long application.
right, my gut says that they're like, I'm not gonna send 5% down or a contract.
Well, that's hard money, so that's an automatic.
Well, right, but that, they might say, like, I'll see where this gets me. You know, I'm gonna give this much and brought them back to force my hand.
But you would have to put a deposit of your.
Right,
balance.
yes, you do. But maybe, they were all right this last one on River Street was all right sending $90, the 2 partners plus the application fee for background checks, but not the check for 5% down. Which, okay, I mean, and I called them up and I said, you didn't complete, I'd love to like talk to you about getting your application complete. And the person's like, okay, when I'm in town, I'll give you a call. I'm like, okay. And so they haven't yet, but maybe when they walk inside the buildings and see them, it'd be a little bit different for them, better for them.
I say we bring it to the board on Wednesday.
Mhm.
Allow them to decide
Mhm.
whether we list or Leah lists, and if we list, come up with a time frame of how long before we proceed.
Yeah, that's what A&D came up with. So that's what the recommendation is gonna be.
What do you have with 3215 staff?
Just A&D recommended selling it.
So
To the
that's probably
applicant.
The same process.
Well, it actually has an application that A&D is approved.
Oh.
That we'll be going under contract for that. That's one of the ones we had on our website. The parish report, I need to get access to parish. I have access as a vendor, not as a user. Our final audit came back, I think either Monday or this week on Friday or some.
Did you?
How far I wasn't gonna do it last night.
And so there's a list of people in the organization, well, previously in the organization that are available to access Paris, but none of them are with us anymore, at least with the user logins that are needed. And so we just need to get access. And that's the easiest way. It could be somebody spent 15 minutes creating the same way it was done before. User access, and then I can go ahead and start that.
So, as far as that, what was done by Kate previously?
I think she would just do the whole report.
No, I mean for you. Didn't we ask that you were,
She added me as a vendor, not a user.
okay, so my ask to her is, so he's
He needs full administrative rights to the parish.
to the parish,
Yeah.
to the parish,
Yeah.
okay.
He needs to be the administrator, like he needs to be able to.
He needs to be what she was,
Yes,
easy enough. I'll
Yeah.
fire that off soon. I wanted to make sure I had my wording correct before.
yeah, he needs the same abilities, permissions
As
as
she
she,
did.
as she.
And
Okay,
then when I have it, I can also give it to the, Jamie is board chair and Monica as well.
Okay.
Treasurer, and that way now 3 people own,
Have eyes.
have access to it so that if, I'm not here or one of you two aren't here, then we can give that access to other people.
Okay. Easy.
Create the institutional knowledge.
We,
Did an update on 91?
The update that we got since the A&D meeting is that they want, the potential, offer or buyer wants to see the CO. So I asked Bill French to send that.
We did get a CO.
Yes, he needed.
But we counter.
We counter offered, then they gave us best and final, and then Leo decided to lower the price to $395 online. And then we also told her the A&D committees told her to have the applicant send over their application, even though we didn't come to a explicit number. So that we can consider if the application is compelling enough.
based on their bid of 300,000, we gave Leah, we told Leah, have them fill out an application. So at least the board can review the application, hear their story in order for us to.
But they didn't walk away.
Us to sign. Starts at 1:14, hour 14, that's when you can start listening in and we'll talk about it. That's it. I don't think that we're going to sign any documents until we have an application. They have to follow our process.
Okay. You covered all of your old business.
Mhm.
Any new business? Suzanne, Brian? Paul, you wanna chime in?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
All all in favor?
Good meeting.